The following broadcast is a presentation of Mount Zion Media Ministry.
The subject today is in the form of a question: what are you chasing? What are you chasing? We started out on New Year's Eve for our morning service and for the watch night and into the new year, trying to drive home the idea, the hope, the belief among members. And when I say drive it home, I want it to go deep down in your soul. The idea that you and I, the children of God, need to dream big dreams. To have God-sized dreams or God-sized visions to do things for God's sake that defy our background. What do you mean, Pastor? That based on who we are and where we've come from, we shouldn't be doing it that big. That in spite of the context of our culture, which dictates or says that given the culture you are a part of, you are limited in what you can do. But we don't believe that our culture limits us. But we believe we can do big things for God. And so, as we've encouraged you to do that, and I ask you, also, can you handle it? Because everybody can't handle big dreams. And so my hope is that you have followed the instructions, that you have been before God, you've sought the vision, you wrote it down, you made it plain, and you got your plan, and you're working toward that dream, that vision. Now, I'm not talking about that little bit of thing, but I'm talking about that God-sized thing. And because you're on the way doing that, perhaps some of you have experienced some frustration. And so I want to help clear up that frustration in this message this morning. And then some of you paid me no attention because you have been frustrated by your past efforts, and so you no longer attempt to dream big. You just settle and figure life is going to be what it's going to be. But I want to tell you today, it's not that way. Let's wake up. Shake off whatever your past failures are. Shake off your past frustration and get in the game. Let's go for these big dreams that God has given us with Him. And here is where perhaps if you started and you're a little frustrated because it's not panning out like you thought, or in the past you tried it and it didn't work, I want to suggest this morning that it could be that you didn't get where you thought you should have been. The dream hadn't become a reality because you were chasing the wrong thing. Maybe you were chasing the dream. And if the dream is what you are chasing, then that's the wrong thing to be chasing. I want to show you in a moment that rather than chasing the dream, you got to chase the dream giver. And for those of us who don't even have a dream, but we chasing some other stuff, let me just tell you this. Some of you chasing paper. Because for you, what you want in your life is tied to paper. For those of you that don't know what that is, that's money. And so your pursuit in life is about money. And so you chase after it. You overwork yourself chasing that paper. You scheme and you do things for paper. And the late Reverend C.W. Heath had this saying in which he said that some of us are like buzzards. And this is how the buzzard act. The buzzards sit around and wait on somebody to die. And then they go and capitalize on the carcass of the dead. And so some of us wait on people to die, and then we get their money. We waiting on the insurance. We waiting on the house. That's what you are chasing. And I want to just tell you that's the wrong thing. Chasing fame, chasing success, chasing the material possessions that you think you need, chasing a man, chasing a woman, chasing pleasure, you are not going to get where you need to be, get what you need to have if that's what you're chasing. And I just want to sum up all of the other things that we can chase with two words: these things. Whatever these things are for you that you've been after, let me tell you, you got to make sure that whatever these things are, that you're not chasing them at the expense of not chasing who and what you ought to be chasing. Can I get a witness? See, some of us live with the illusion that you can do it all, that you can have it all, and you really can't. Because if I'm supposed to be chasing him, I can't chase him at the same time I'm chasing these things. And so here it is in the text today. See if I can make it plain. Jesus is having a conversation with a multitude of people on the mountainside, and what is called a Sermon on the Mount, and he's trying to reorient their mind, because he has invited them not just to join the church, but he's invited them to become a part of his kingdom. And these are people who currently live in a kingdom that is governed by Rome, that has its own value system, its own laws, and its own mores. But at the same time, these are people who are Jewish for the most part, and they have come up in that Mosaic law system, and so they understand the world from that perspective. And Jesus is saying to them, your religious background under the Mosaic law would not get you what you need in this kingdom experience, nor will the values and the laws and the mores of the Roman kingdom. I need you, if you are going to be a part of my kingdom and get everything that I have, I need you to have a mind transformation. And so all of the teachings in the Sermon on the Mount, beginning with those Beatitudes about blessed are the poor in spirit, is about changing your mindset. And when it comes to verse 32, I want you to look at it with me, because I want you to underline this word. For all these things do the Gentiles seek. Underline, seek. That word seek suggests that they are actively engaged in going after. Going after. And what he suggests to them is that these things that you are chasing are the things that Gentiles or pagans or unbelievers chase. But if you want to be a part of my kingdom, you got to seek my kingdom first. First in priority. But let's stay with verse 32 for a minute. What I chase is an indication of what I value. I can say I value something, but if I don't chase it, then there's a disconnect between what I say and what I do. And if you really want to know where my heart is, if you really want to know what I care about, see what I chase. There are some places that you won't catch me, even if somebody paid me to go. because what's in those places have no value for me. There are some things I wouldn't pay a penny for because they have no value to me, but other people go after that because it clearly has value to them. And whether it's me or somebody else, what I chase or what I don't chase is clear evidence of what I value. I need you to be honest with me today. If we were to turn over our phones, what would our phones indicate we are pursuing? If we were to turn over our checkbooks today, and for those of you who don't have checkbooks, if you just give us a log of how you spend your money, what would that indicate in terms of what you are chasing? If we were to have you give an account, if we had, you know those little watches that they got that keep up with your steps and all of that, what if we had one to keep up with where you go and where you spend your time? And we could really check into what you've been chasing. Because it's an indication, y'all, of what we value. And Jesus is saying that there are some things that you and I can pursue. And if we pursue those things, and he called them these things, then we are missing the mark if we are part of his kingdom, because once you become a kingdom citizen, you don't pursue these things because they keep you from pursuing the main thing. Let me just slow down for a minute. What are you chasing? If we look at where you go, how you spend your time, how you spend your money, what are you chasing? It's an indication of what you value. And here it is also. What you chase, going back to this word priority, is an indication of what is a priority to you. And can I tell you that these things that Jesus referred to, all of them have to do with self and others connected to self. And they tie into money. He says you cannot serve two masters. You can't serve God and mammon and God and money. And so, what's your priority? Turn if you will, in your Bible to Matthew chapter 10. Let me show you something here. Because some of you, again, the people in the text, they lived in a kingdom, in a society that had some values, some mores, and even in their religious belief, there were some things that they believed. And one of those things that they believed, that as a culture, is that it was okay to think about self, to put yourself first. But Jesus wants us to know that in the kingdom, it does not work that way. Talk about family. In the kingdom, it doesn't work that way. So we're going to start with the family. Matthew 10:37. Here it is. He says, he that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. He didn't say you couldn't love your mama and daddy. You couldn't love your children, sons and daughters, but you can't love them more than you love me. I have to be the number one priority. And therefore, what I chase is not making my children my priority. And so I'm chasing those things that provide for them in every way. While I am going to provide for them, Providing for them is not my number one priority. Not if I am going to be a kingdom citizen and chase the right thing. And you see, it's not something that you and I can prove by what we say, but it is proved in what we do. Can I tell you that there is no limit to what I would do for my children when they were young in terms of providing for them, because they were my responsibility? And I say when they were young because now they're grown and I got limits. But when they were young and couldn't work and couldn't do for themselves, I was a no-limit soldier. And some of you, same way. And if I had no limits for them, I couldn't in turn put limits on God, because that would mean my children were more important to me than him. That makes sense? Until I got my mind straight, it was saying with my mom, I was a no-limit soldier. And she wanted something. She asked for something. I made it happen. But if God asked me for something and I wanted something and I didn't make it happen, then that means I care more for my mama than I do him. And so as I pursue and chase things and try to put things in order, who's first? Am I chasing the comfort of my children, my mama, other folk? Some of you didn't, you said, oh, you good right there, but some of you got somebody other than your mom and your daddy. You got a spouse, you got a significant other, you got a boo, you got a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever y'all call them now, because you know y'all call them different things now. They're your friend, they're your all that, but how far would you go for him? How far would you go for her? And let me just say, this is not had anything to do with the sermon, but I just want to say this to all the single men and the single ladies. If you got minor children and you get you a girlfriend, a boyfriend, whatever you call them, and he or she asks you to put him or her before your children, I think that's a sign you need to tell that joker or that sister to hit the door right there. Because now there's God first, but you ought not put the man or the woman before your children. Now, if they're grown, you know, you let them be grown. If you got some children in your house, you're responsible for taking care of. Can I? This ain't got nothing to do with the sermon, but let me tell you something. If I was a single man and I went to a woman's house and she fed me before she fed her children, I'd quit her. I wouldn't want a woman that's sorry, who care more for her children, more for a man than she do her children, and this man may quit her any minute. And she don't owe me a thing, but she owe those children something because she brought them in the world. But you're going to tell your children, you go in the room, let me feed Daniel. You ain't got to worry about feeding me. I'm gone, because I don't trust a woman who won't take care of her own children. I'm just saying that, and ladies, you ought not trust a man who won't take care of his own children. So let me get back to the sermon here. Let me get back. And so here it is. Here it is. It shows who's the priority of the people. Now turn to Matthew 16, and let me show you this particular passage, and then I'll go ahead and deal with verse 33, and we'll be through. But in Matthew 16:24, here's another one that I want you to write down. He says, then said Jesus unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. That means then that I can't even make myself the priority. And so as I am chasing things, these things, I can't chase these things that are for me at the expense of him. Make it plain, Pastor Simmons. That means that whatever brings me pleasure, I can't chase that if I can't do what brings God pleasure. That means his money that I have, I can't spend it on me. If it causes me not to be able to do what he requires of me with his money. Make it plain, Pastor. That means I can't buy a vehicle that puts me in a position where I can't do for him what I'm supposed to do. That means I can't buy a house that puts me in a position where I can't do for him what I'm supposed to do. That means I can't go to the store and buy clothes and shoes and hats and whatever else I buy. That means I don't take vacations that would hinder me from doing what I'm supposed to do for him. Because if I do, that means I put myself first. Am I making it plain? And the reason I'm trying to take my time, because I want to show you in a very practical way that you're going to be frustrated and messed up if you got your priorities out of order. And God is looking to see where your priorities are. And check this out. At least I stay too long here. God will not settle for second or third or fourth place. And again, you can sit up here and shout and prophesy all you want or prophet lie. God is watching what you do after you get through doing all that. Listen, God says, I have done too much for you to be second or third or fourth. I have to be first. We were disconnected to him. He gave his son to die for us so that we could be connected to him. Then he gave us his spirit. He gave us what we needed so that we could be connected to him. And then, brothers and sisters, he did all of this, gave us everything we have, and then we're going to kick him to the curb and give him third, fourth, fifth place. Not going to work. What we make priority, what we value, will also be seen in what we worry about. And in chapter 6, he says, don't be worried, don't be anxious, in Matthew 6, about these things. What keeps you up at night? That's an indication of where your heart really is. When's the last time you stayed up all night over the Lord's will? Or when's the last time you stayed up all night because you didn't know where he was? Or you went in his phone or her phone and you saw a message and now you can't sleep. You went to their Facebook page and you saw something. Somebody put something in their inbox and now you... Or you may lose your job, or you may lose your house, or you may lose this, or you may lose a friend or relationship. Does that kind of stuff keep you up? Or does the kingdom stuff keep you up? And here it is. So, God never gives us a command unless it blesses us. So when he tells you and me not to be chasing these things, not to make those our core values, the thing that we value the most, or to make them the part in our life, it's for him, but it's also for our good. Because look at verse 33, because here it again, there's that same word, seek. Run after first. First, then make that the first priority. Make that the preeminent thing above all else. See first there. First means you can have some other stuff. You can love your mom and your daddy. You can love yourself. You can do some other things. You can have a career. You can do some other things, but you can have a house. You can have a car. You can do it, but you can have some shoes. You can have some, but I got to be first. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and then these things be added. Let me show you this real quick. And this is where you and I ought to be shouting, because what we chase is an indication of our worldview. If you view the world from this system that we live in, then what I've said make no sense to you. Because the world says, put yourself first, family. It's all right to pursue these things. You got to have the American dream. But the American dream is not God's dream. We say that we value people and we measure the quality of a person's life by these things. If somebody walked in here and wasn't dressed just right, didn't have on these things, and driving these things, we kind of look down on them. But if somebody walked in here with these things, they got the Louis Vuitton bag, they got the red bottom shoes, they got the name brand suits, and they got the Benz or the Bentley in the parking lot, we'll be crying they blessed. But baby, that don't mean you're blessed. Oh, he got so much money in the bank. That don't mean you're blessed. So here it is. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven. Write this down because you won't remember this and you're going to need this. In pursuing the kingdom of heaven, this is what you do. Pursue the king. And God is the king. Because, see, some of y'all miss this because you don't understand this because the system you're in has messed you up. See, in the system we're in, we pursue stuff. We even pursue people for their stuff. But he says, pursue the kingdom. And when you pursue or chase or seek after the kingdom, the first thing in that is the king. And see, here it is. And when you get the king, then you get access to everything the king owns. But listen, if you come after the king's stuff, the king sees that as an hostile act. And so what the king is going to do is to respond by fighting you because you want his stuff but don't want him. He will not let you pimp him. Can I make it plain? You ain't going to lay up with him without having him. He ain't going to just pay your bills and you don't have him. You can't ask him for a little piece because he don't come in pieces. But if you come to him, then you got him. And when you got the king, then the kingdom becomes available to you. Listen, because everything in the kingdom belongs to the king. In the kingdom, the citizens never own anything. But whatever you have it because of the grace and the love of the king who allows you. He gives you temporary deed to your property, but it's really his property. And I say temporary because you never own it. And can I tell you right now, everything you got is temporary. I know your name on the deed of the house, but can I tell you something? You're going to leave here.
Thanks for watching. Be blessed and continue walking in the light.